So, welcome back to Fair From Friday. For the first case for this week, we are going to Indiana. Unlike the other cases that I've covered from Indiana in the past, this one actually is well known. This case did happen like 30 years ago, but it is somewhat well known. I'm pretty sure you or someone that's interested that you know is in true crime is aware of this case. So, I have a lot of facts, and so I'm not gonna really just ramble much. I'm gonna jump right into it, and let's go and get started. So, we're gonna start off with Sandra. Sandra Renee Scherer was born on June 6, 1979. She has an older half-sister named Paige, Paige's father is her mother's first husband. So basically, same mom, different daddy, right? So obviously with them having different daddies, Sandra's mom, Jackie, is now with a new man. However, they split when Sandra's like 3, and then she gets remarried when Sandra's like 7 or 8-ish. However, they split 4 years after that, so now Sandra's like 11. Her and her mother moved to New Albany, Indiana in 1991. There, apparently, Paige has been raised by an Aunt Debbie, and by this point, it's 19. So Paige has already grown up by the time all this happened. And then apparently, Sandra's been attending like private schools her entire life, and it was going good. You know, she was in sports such as basketball, cheerleading. You know, it said that she was very active. However, in this school, her mom decides we're going to put her in a public school, which I can imagine is like a huge shock to her. Especially, again, this is the 90s, so you know they had a lot of shit going on. And so apparently everything's going good till like the third day. The third day, apparently there's this girl who apparently she wants to be friends with her. But again, it's only the third day, so are you really friends with this person? And she was trying to break with the boyfriend, and she was trying to get the boyfriend back to ring, but she didn't want to do it herself. So Sandra apparently volunteered to do it, and then Sandra was giving him back the ring, and apparently he was feeling salty, because like, who the hell are you? Why can't she give me back the ring? This is not your business. Like, where did you come from? Because again, she's new, and I'm pretty sure all these kids like knew each other by this point. So then apparently, old dude apparently has this female cousin named Amanda Heverin. Apparently she jumps in and is like, what is going on? Because apparently by this point it's like a whole ass yelling match. And so then Shauna's trying to explain, hey, I'm just trying to return a ring back because my friend don't want to be with your cousin anymore. And so then apparently that's like starts a whole ass pushing match. And apparently Amanda is actually bigger than Sandra, like a whole ass 2-year age gap. So then obviously Sandra's pushed to the ground. It's not even really a fight. She's kind of like getting beat up. And normally when there's a fight, you get like suspended for 3 days, maybe a week, depending on how severe the fight was. No, they were just put in detention for a week. So surprisingly, while in detention, I don't know on what day, but somewhere in that week, they decided we're going to make up and become friends. So they wind up becoming friends. And for context, Amanda does have a ex-girlfriend named Melinda Loveless, who is kind of one of our main characters in the story. So, Melinda Loveless was born on October 28th, 1975. So, it's said that her parents had got married sometime in the 60s, and this was before Vietnam, for context. And apparently, Marjorie, who was her mother, was like 16 and he was 20. So, then obviously, like I said, before Vietnam, so he's old enough to go. He gets drafted into Vietnam. He goes, he serves, doesn't know how long he serves, but apparently he served. And then he comes back. He works for the railroad. Apparently, the railroad didn't work out, so then he came and was a probation officer. And the probation officer, he wasn't getting fired because he accused one of his black coworkers of sleeping with Marjorie, who was the wife. So then after he's fired for being a probation officer, he goes and tries to be like a mailman, but then he gets fired from that job as well, simply because apparently he was just keeping people's mail. I don't know if it was like Christmas time, and he was keeping the gifts that he thought were like he could maybe sell one day, or maybe just a regular mail. But it said he was keeping most of the mail, so I was assuming he was just keeping regular day mail. So apparently, the family's life turns around when Melinda turns 5, so it's now like 1980. Apparently, they start attending church, and then they renounce like the whole like drinking and having swinging and like all the other things they were doing. And apparently, Larry becomes a preacher, and Marjorie is doing like nursing. Things seem to start going good until Melinda apparently is taken to a hotel with a priest and allegedly do a 5-hour exorcism. No other witnesses to this exorcism, so whether or not it actually happened, we don't even know. I think we could all probably what actually happened, because that easily could have just took place at the house. So why did it go to a hotel for that? I think we all know what probably happened. But anyway, I don't know if this part is before or after they started trying to go to church and change their lives, but apparently, like I said, they were doing swinging, and I think it was involuntarily swinging. So Larry was over here having his friends come over and have sex with Marjorie, but she didn't want to, but she was just like, it seemed like she was being forced to do it. And sadly, there was an incident where apparently a gang rape was done on her, and then it said that she tried to commit suicide afterward. But there's other sources saying that she was trying to commit suicide, but they stopped her by gang raping her. And so Melinda's sister and a cousin apparently would come out and say, yeah, he did violate us as kids. But Melinda herself was like, yeah, no, that didn't happen to me, so I don't know what y'all went through. Even though Larry and Melinda shared a bed until Melinda was like 14. And apparently the only reason they stopped sharing a bed is because he eventually moved out. And this was because Marjorie had apparently caught Larry watching Melinda, and apparently there was a friend over. The friend's not named. The friend was over. She was changing. He was watching both of them change. Also, they're like teenage girls. Melinda is 14 at the time of the story. So, of course, she grabs a knife, and she apparently is like trying to attack him with it. So, of course, he leaves. They split not long after. They actually get divorced and everything. And then he goes to Florida. So, okay, so this is where Melinda, Chandra, and Amanda come into play. Because remember, I had mentioned Chandra first in the story. So, apparently, Amanda and Chandra, they are kind of seeing each other romantically at this point. Chandra's like 12, and Amanda's 14, and Melinda's 16 at the time of this story. So, Melinda is Amanda's ex. And Melinda apparently is writing Amanda letters that she wished that Chandra was dead. And Amanda had allegedly given these letters to a juvenile officer. And I guess the juvenile officer didn't do anything. Otherwise, we obviously wouldn't have the story. But Amanda and Chandra, they're writing letters back and forth. Because like I said, this is like 1991, 1992. So like, before cell phones and all that. And so her mother, Jackie, eventually has her transferred to the Our Lady of Perpetual. And that's a Catholic school. So we're going back to the private school with what she's used to. Maybe get her straightened up. Because, grades weren't acting right. She was constantly getting detention. And she just wasn't being her normal self. So Jackie's like, maybe if I send her back to the private school, it'll help. And we'll get her from Amanda, because Amanda's obviously not a good influence. So then on the night of January 10th, 1992, Melissa has three of her friends, Lori Tackett, Hope Rippey, and Toni Lawrence, all go to Chandra's dad's house. Because remember, like I said, Chandra, mom Jackie, and her dad Stephen were divorced. However, she was visiting her father on the weekends. And this so happened to be one of the weekends that she was visiting Stephen. And somehow, I don't know who they got the information from or even where he lived, but they got that information from somebody, and that didn't come out where they got it from. So, yeah. Anyway, so they pull up to the house, and we have Toni, who was born in February 1976. It was said that when she was 9 years old, and she was abused by a family member. Didn't say in what way, whether it was physical or sexual, just said she was abused by a family member. And then, apparently, she was raped at 14 by a classmate, and nothing really happened nothing legally happened to that classmate. He was just told to, stay away from Toni. And apparently, unfortunately, despite being raped, she had her reputation kind of, ruined from what it said. Because it said she was a good girl for this. And so, yeah, apparently she had tried to commit suicide sometime afterwards. And Toni's, 15 when this happened. So then Hope Rippey was born on June 9th, 1976. So, literally 3 days after. It says, 3 days. So, 3 days after Chandra, but, 3 years before her. So, she's also 15 or 16. Her parents apparently split in 1984. Her and her mom moved to Quincy, Michigan. So, of course, she's moved away from Lori and Toni, who apparently were, childhood friends of hers. But her parents get back together, 3 years later. And so, then, of course, she moves back. And then she's obviously reunited with Toni and Lori. And then we have Lori, who is said to have been, the second ringleader of all this. And so, Lori was born on October 5th, 1974. And it said that she was violated at the ages of 5 and 12. Her mother was said to have been, a very religious, Pentecostal woman. And obviously, for anyone who doesn't know, Pentecostal women, you wear, skirts and dresses. You don't wear, pants like the men do. Because that's how they do it over there. And so, Lori, apparently, she would leave the house wearing the skirts. But also, you're going to get made fun of because, that's being different. And Lori's not the girly girl type. So, what's with the wearing skirts? But she would change it to pants. So, at school, she was wearing pants. And apparently her mom only discovered this because she has a brother, and her brother had read her diary, and her brother had went back and told the mom, hey, she's switching into pants at school, so, come get your child. So then, of course, Lori's mom had apparently beat her to the point to where CPS kind of had to get involved, and they didn't take Lori away, but they were we're going to come and do unscheduled visits to make sure no actual abuse was going on. Apparently, she had gotten, strangled. So, yeah, it was kind of, serious. So then Lori, as you can imagine, she has a history of self-harm. She will go to the hospital where she gets medication. And apparently there was one day where apparently she had slit her wrist, too deep. And she didn't die, obviously, otherwise I wouldn't be mentioning her. But she also had to go to the hospital because like it was just too deep. And there were some sources saying her and Toni were trying to commit suicide, but there's other sources saying she was just trying to show Toni like, bop, and then it went too far, and yeah. And so here's where I think a little premeditation comes into play. So weeks before the fateful night of January 10th, 1992, apparently Melissa had asked friends of hers if they want to go to a concert, and apparently they agreed. But obviously they're teenage girls, so they're going to figure out like, oh, who's all going? And she mentioned, oh, Lori's going to be there. So once they mentioned Lori's going to be there, I don't want to go since Lori's going. So I guess Lori's kind of like that one person you just don't want to be around. Like I said, a bad influence essentially. So she somehow gets Hope and Toni, because they're friends with Lori. She gets them to come. As far as we know, Hope and Toni never met Chandra a day in their lives. So that sucks for them. But so for the night of January 10th, we're going back. Toni had apparently asked like, hey, can I go to a concert over in Louisville, Indiana? And her parents, because she's like 15, they're like, no, you're too young. Hell no, you can't go to a concert by yourself at this age at that late at night, understandably. So then she lied to them and said, oh, well, I'm actually going to go stay at a friend's house. And apparently this is a friend that they approved of. So they're like, okay, cool. So then she went to the friend and was like, yeah, cover for me because I'm actually going to hang out with Lori. And I guess that friend was just cool with it. So she was just like, okay. So that was like her fake alibi for that night. And it said that when the four of them, Melissa, Lori, Toni, and Hope, they're all meeting up and shit. It said that apparently they went to Melinda's house like first. And Hope and Toni would say that, Melinda seemed pretty nice. And that Melinda even let us borrow some of her clothes because we were over at her house for a bit. So I should mention that. And then apparently there's a point where Melinda hides in the back seat under a blanket and shit. And gets Toni and Hope to go knock on the door. Because obviously, if I go knock on the door, she's going to know suspicious. Because again, I'm the ex of this girl that she was talking to. So she gets Toni and Hope to go knock on this door and pretend that Amanda is waiting in the car, wanting to talk. Steven, and apparently he remarried. He has a new wife. I think her name's like Gloria or something. And so apparently they had asked for Chandra because they had never met Chandra a day in their lives. And Chandra was like, that was me. Apparently the dad overheard this and thought it was a little weird. Like, why are you asking for Chandra when Chandra's literally right there? Like, I thought that was your friends. Like, wouldn't your friends know what you look like? And so, understandably, the dad, he rightfully so is concerned because, this is his daughter. And so, she's like, don't worry about it. These are just friends. And she's like, look, I can't. And apparently, I guess he didn't hear this part. But apparently, she was like, look, I can't go out right now because my dad's still up. But wait till about midnight. He should be asleep by then, and then I can sneak out with y'all then. So then they leave from the house to do some other stuff, and Melinda's pissed because we didn't get her in the car. But they were like, we're going to come back for her, don't worry. So then apparently, I guess there actually was a concert that night that they went to, and Lori and Toni had apparently actually lost interest at the concert, so I don't even know who was going on, what they were playing. It was like a well-known or even a local band that said there was a concert, and apparently they went to the parking lot that night, and they just found these two boys that it seemed like they knew, but like barely. And they pretty much did sexual shit with them in the car. Lori and Hope. And of course, I should mention this. This is Lori's car that all this is happening in. And Lori apparently got the car from her dad. So, just a heads up on that. So then they go back to the house around midnight because that's what Chandra told them to do. Of course, the dad, Steven, is unfortunately asleep by this point. And I assume his wife is too. So then Chandra's up waiting on them. They pull up. And Toni, apparently this time she refuses to get out of the car. I guess she had like a bad feeling. I don't know. But apparently she refuses to like get out. And so apparently Hope goes to the door and gets Chandra come out. So they get Chandra apparently in the front, and then like I said, Melinda's hiding in the back seat to like avoid suspicion. And then Melinda pops out once Chandra's in the car. She pops out with a knife, holds her to her throat, and basically calls her bitch. So then they drive out to this abandoned area, apparently that's well known up in Indiana, called Witch's Castle, which apparently there's like a whole legend where like 9 witches were burned and their remains are there. And they were joking that, at least what Lori was joking with Chandra, that, your remains are going to be here next. And so they take Chandra out of the car. Melissa and Lori are beating on her, while Hope and Toni apparently stay in the car. And so Hope, apparently this is the part where she starts getting involved, at least a little bit. She makes Chandra take off her shirt, and also her bra, and then they switch bras. Now, I don't know why the hell she took Chandra's bra, and then she made Chandra put on Hope's bra. Now, I don't know why the hell you would do that. And apparently Hope even said to this day, because this was 30 years ago, even her ass don't even know. So we can only speculate what the hell that even means. And then apparently Chandra also had a Mickey Mouse watch, because again, she's like 12, she's still a child. And Hope makes her take it off, and apparently there's like music from this watch, and Hope is apparently dancing to the music that comes out of this watch. Lori apparently is tying Chandra up, and apparently Chandra does have this like long, beautiful, natural hair. And she's like, oh, it would be a shame if, like, it was to get all cut off, basically trying to torture her more than we already are. So then apparently, I don't know who exactly took the rings, but apparently there were rings that Chandra was wearing that night. And it said the group took them off. And then Melinda wanted to keep a hold of them because I guess she's the ringleader, so she has most of the reason to hate Chandra. And it said that to this day she never gave them back. Not even to Jackie, not to anybody. She just never gave them back. So where the rings at now, we don't even know. Lori apparently had set a shirt on fire with a cigarette, but was scared that somebody might drive, even though it's an somewhat abandoned area, somebody could drive by and potentially see a fire and then stop to see like, oh, there's a fire, like what's going on? Understandably. So then they put out the fire, put her back in the trunk, and they drive off. Then the group drive out to a new location. Doesn't say what the new location is called, but apparently they drive out to a new location. And Chandra had actually just gotten braces a couple weeks before. And so Melinda, obviously, she don't give a shit at this point. She's out for blood. She wants to kill Chandra. So she proceeds to kick Chandra with her knee in the face multiple times. Obviously, of course, fucking up her braces that she just got. And as you can imagine, that's going to hurt like hell. And then it said that Melissa, after that, it said to actually stabbed her multiple times. So, you know, that's, like I said, she had a knife, so she was intending on using it. And then they put her back in the trunk. They go to Lori's house. Toni and Hope are dropped off at Lori's house. And then Melinda and Lori are basically driving around with Chandra and the trunk still alive. And then apparently whenever she would just make noises, Lori would get out because it said that Lori was driving. Because again, this is her car. Lori is driving. And they would just hear noises. They would get out and beat her with a tire iron until she just stops making noises. So they returned before dawn to Lori's house to go pick up Toni and Hope. Because like I said, they had been dropped off. And Melinda and Lori basically said, oh, we're just going on a little country drive. And that happened for at least 4 hours. So they had plenty of time to call the police. If they were, because they would later come out and say, oh, we were scared for our lives. No, there was an adult there, and it was Lori's mom. Because I don't know if her parents were split, but at least her mom was there that night. And I think they had at least 2 phones in the house. So they could have easily called 911, and, you know, I would have sympathy for them because if they genuinely were scared. But they didn't, so yeah. So they get picked up, they go to a gas station, they buy some gas to put in the car, because I guess they were low on gas, and they also buy a 2-liter Pepsi bottle. They emptied the 2-liter Pepsi bottle out into the gas station parking lot, and fill it up with gasoline. Also, it is said that before they did this, apparently, Hope had apparently sprayed window cleaner on her, which Jackie would come out and ask, like, why would you, like, spray window cleaner on her? Which, you know, understandable, because that's, like, random as hell. And even she says, like, she don't know why she did it. But Toni was said to not have participated past this point. So it is said, okay, so we're now on January 11th, because like I said, they pretty much did this to her, like, the whole night. So we're now on January 11th. Chandra is still miraculously still alive. But of course, like I said, they're trying to kill her. They're trying to get rid of her, dispose of any evidence that she existed, you know, stuff like that. So like I said, they have the gasoline. They drive her to a new area. And with the gasoline, they basically set her on fire. Believing at this point she was already dead, but she wasn't. And then I guess, because again, these are teenage girls, so obviously they're not the smartest light bulbs here. They believe that once you set somebody on fire, everything's just going to naturally, like, disappear, like cremation. Luckily, that's not how that works. And apparently they have even drove back to see, like, if not only was she dead, but was, like, everything physically gone. Like, there was nothing that could tie them back to it. And, of course, she was still there. Not everything was gone, basically. So then they set her on fire again, because I guess that first fire had, like, went out. So then the group leave for good, believing that, you know, like, there's no chance that she could still be alive after this. And so then they go to Lori's house, and apparently they're so loud when they get in that Lori's mother wakes up, and she believes that these girls were here all night. She know what these girls are actually doing. So then she's pissed because, you know, you just had like three whole ass people over without my permission. Take their ass home. So instead of going home, they go to McDonald's, and then apparently there was like the sausages they had were like burnt, and they joked that the sausages were burnt, like Sandra's body. So then, of course, as you can imagine, Sandra's body is found eventually. It's found later that day, like an hour after they were at McDonald's, around like 10 a.m. And the stories vary on who exactly finds it. The stories are apparently 2 hunters. They were out hunting that day. You got 2 brothers. They were just like out walking and they just happened to see the body. And then you have a veteran who apparently had smelled the body from far away and recognized the smell of burning flesh because he had served, and yeah. So the stories vary on who exactly found the body, but the body is found. That's what matters. Now, Melinda apparently goes to Amanda's house to go pick her up, and she's like, yeah, I've killed Chandra. And obviously, Amanda doesn't believe her, because again, they're 15 years old. What the fuck? And Melinda proceeds to show Amanda Chandra's blood-covered socks, and Amanda, understandably, I don't want to be here, I want to go home. But apparently, she didn't do anything after that. She just kept to herself. So then 2 more people were told. They obviously don't believe Melinda either. I don't know if she showed them the blood-covered socks, but she don't believe them either. Sorry, they don't believe her either. So apparently the two friends that they had told that didn't believe them, I guess by this point they had believed them. Because apparently Toni and Hope got contacted by a lawyer who was like, hey, your friends told me what happened. I believe y'all need to get y'all parents involved immediately. Because y'all are minors, y'all can't be going up here by yourselves. So Toni apparently does, because, she has, extreme guilt by this point. So at least somebody has somewhat of a heart. And then it said that Hope apparently had her mom hid her in a hotel room. But somehow by the end of the night, all three of them were arrested. So, all four of them are now in jail because Toni turned herself in, but the other three had to go get the other three. And despite all being minors, obviously this is a gruesome mass murder, so they're all tried as adults. And apparently at one point it said they actually could have got the death penalty despite being a minor. So that's how you know this shit was graphic. And they all got plea deals. Toni, because she was the least involved and apparently did testify against the others in court and shit, she got 20 years. Whereas Hope, Toni, and Melinda all got 60 years, but apparently were eligible after 20. And so Jackie, Chandra's mother, don't know who she found this out from, but she found this out from somebody. She found out that Lori and Melinda were planning on selling the story of Chandra's murder to potentially make some money off of it, even though they're her killers. And Jackie was like, hell no. So then Jackie sues for $1 billion, and she would say, which sounds like hella crazy, because who you know that just has $1 billion? Nobody. The average person don't know nobody want $1 billion. And she said, I didn't expect nothing, but I'll be damned if they make money off my daughter's murder, and they're the ones that killed her. And then, okay, so we're gonna go back to Larry, Melinda's dad. Apparently in February 1993, all the rape stuff that he was doing apparently caught up to him, and he was getting charged with rape, sodomy, and sexual battery. And apparently, the time that it took from when it happened to the time it happened, all charges are dropped except one charge of sexual battery, because apparently in the state of Indiana, there's a 5-year statute of limitations. So he only gets charged with time served and is released in June of 1995. So then weeks after he's released, like I said, he was released in June 1995, this man has the Caucasian audacity to try to sue for $39 million because of cruel punishment that he received while in jail. And apparently these cruel punishments included not being able to sleep during the day, so like in his bed, and not having regular access to a newspaper. And he tried to sue for $39 million because of that. When there's people who've been through a lot worse and haven't even got close to that. So as you can imagine, I can imagine he didn't get shit. Otherwise I would have said, he got this much. So there you go. And then on December 16th, 1998, apparently Larry had tried to commit suicide, so he jumps off a bridge and is hit by a bus. So remember how I said Toni's said to have been like the least involved? So apparently she was sentenced to 20 years, but I guess got out after good behavior after 8 years. So she gets out in 2000. Chandra's father, Stephen, would unfortunately die in 2005, apparently from drinking. And this was from grieving Chandra's death. So now we technically have 2 deaths. And then, so Hope gets released in 2006. But before she got released, she had a GED and her bachelor's degree. Don't know what it's in, but she got a bachelor's degree. And apparently she got 3 appeals done and got her sentence shortened down to 35 years. But they decided we're just going to release her after 14. So in 2008, despite being the ringleader, Melinda attempts to get a reduced sentence. And in 2009, a scholarship in Chandra's memory was created. And then in 2011, Dr. Phil had a 2-part episode regarding the murders, and apparently Amanda and Hope came onto the show, and then Hope's older sister Paige was there, and everybody's asking questions like, why'd you do it? You could have gotten help, it shouldn't have gone this far, she deserved to die, that kind of stuff. So Lori, she gets released on January 11th, 2018, which that's the anniversary of the murder, which is kind of disrespectful to release a murderer on the anniversary of the actual murder, but okay. And then Melinda, she is said to have been actually, because again, she's the mastermind behind all this. She's said to have been in prison, working on herself, and apparently was working with dogs. And these dogs apparently for abused and traumatized children in the courtroom for when they have to testify, I assume against their abuser. And then Jackie apparently was shocked by how much Melinda had changed over the years. And so she apparently had donated a dog so that Melinda could specifically train that dog. And there are people that obviously don't agree with this, because again, this woman was the mastermind behind why her daughter's dead. But she's like, it's my daughter, and I'm pretty sure if she was still alive, she would have wanted that. Which, we don't know if she would have wanted that, but again, that's her mother, so she chose to forgive her. And then, of course, Melinda, she gets released in, I think, September of 2019. So she got released last. And then it said that, I couldn't confirm this last part, but it said that Toni is currently married and has children. Yeah, all 4 of them are out. Amanda never served any jail time because obviously she wasn't there. As far as we know, she wasn't orchestrating in the murder. So yeah, definitely know your thoughts down below. Sorry, I definitely have my thoughts. And so with that being said, I'm here for you guys 3 times every Friday, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye.
So if I play dead, will you regret everything that you did, that you said? I don't think you understand what you're doing, and my heart's black and blue from the bruising. I feel like when I'm with you I'm losing. I feel like you think that this amusing, sitting there gaslighting and confusing. Was it me? Is it me? Am I deluded? I'm the one who's always sorry, the conclusion. Even though I offer all of the solutions, I wish you loved me like